Hey guys, I'm trying to build up our Discord server, and one of the things we have in there, we have question and answer, things like that. And this got posted in here, a Python question, and I thought this was a great question to make a video for on the channel. It'll fit nicely in my Python series, as well as possibly like data science series, some interview questions, etc. But yeah, so I just wanted to make a video kind of walking through how I achieved this solution. And if you guys want to join our Discord server, it's free. You can click down below and join it. And we're trying to really grow this community. So feel free to ask some questions like this and we'll try to help you out. So here's the question. Integer n as input. Find the minimum number of integers that give the sum of n based on the condition. The numbers have to be less or equal to n and formed with zeros or ones. So essentially binary numbers, right? The example that was given is n is 32, right? The only numbers that can be used for 32 are 1, 10, and 11, right? Next number in the sequence would be 100, and that's greater than 32. So you only can use these three numbers. So to sum up 32, right, you would have 10, 11, and 11. Your output would be 3. The second one over here, we have 1043. Then we have out 4 numbers. Now, 1043, you could use 1, 10, 11, 100, 101, 110, 111, 1000, 1, 10, 10, 10, 11, right? You can continue to go forward. Well, you can't actually because the next one in the sequence would be 1100, and this is 1043. So those are the numbers that you could use. And the sum for 1043, you use 1011, 10, 11, as well as 11. So let me show you guys how I built this out. So the first thing I wanted to take a look at is getting user input. Now I do have a video on input, so if you aren't familiar how this works, check it out. But that way we can enter in whatever number we want. Could technically hard code it as well, but regardless, take user input over here. Num equals int of the user input. Next, what we need to have is 2 empty dictionaries over here. Next, we have to have 2 empty lists. The reason why, so I have number list, which is going to be this list of numbers that we could utilize. And then we have our addition list, which is going to be this over here. How I viewed this question is I broke it up into 2 parts. First is finding only the integers that could be used. And then second, based off that list of integers, summing that up to n. So when you have these type of questions, think about trying to solve it with one part at a time rather than solving it all at once. Once I looked at this and determined that, okay, first let's find this list and then use the list to solve it, it made it way easier. So that's what I recommend. So make these 2 lists. Then what I am going to have is x equals 0 and count equals 0. You'll see a little bit why a little bit later on. I actually use 2 while loops and it makes it easy. So let's explain this first part over here. So first is while x is less than num. Okay, so why I'm doing the while loop, this could be a little bit more optimized, right? I'll explain it through the code. We don't necessarily need x less than num, but that's how I'm starting it with this on here. What I'm going to do next is introduce a variable z. And what this is going to be equal to is the integer. I have binary over here of x, and then we're grabbing part of binary. So here's the reason why. If we go over here, right, and let's show you how binary works. Let's say I put bin over here and I put the number, I don't know, we'll put 8, right? You'll see we have 0b and then we have 1000 over here. Well, I don't want 0b, right? So I just want this 1000, and that's why I have this over here, which specifies that. So if I go here to a new line, right, and I do bin like that, and I put 2 over here and like that, right, it essentially removes these first 2, and now I have a number. And again, if you look at this question, right, the only numbers that are allowed to be used are binary, right? We have 1, 10, 11, 100. Actually, the example that I saw had 0 at first, and I didn't update this, so I apologize. So it started with 0, then 1, 10, 11. That's also why I had x being 0. But regardless, right, we get this 1000. Now, this 1000, right, I think is a string, so that's why I also casted this as an integer, and you can see int on the outside. So now Z is going to be 1,000 if it's 8 over here. And right, essentially I'm generating this list 0, 1, 10, 11, 100 through this while loop. Okay. So if Z is less than num, right, I'm going to append it to our number list. Now, our number list has nothing right now, so it'll go through that, and then I add 1 to our X. So essentially how this works, right, is, and I'll just show you over here like this. Let me just remove this. So our first time going around, right, we start with 0. And the first thing that's going to be added in here is 0, right? The next time it goes around, it's going to have 1. Well, 1 is 1 in binary. Then we go to 2, right? And it's 10. And it's going to continue to add up, right? We're converting each of these x's into a binary number, and we're making sure that that new binary number is less than num, which confirms over here, right? We want to only use ints that are going to be less than or equal to, and we have that going on, right? I actually should probably put an equal sign over here if z is less than or equal to it, because you could technically have, let me just double check over here, less or equal. Yeah, so I need to update this right here and say if z is less than or equal to number, append that z, which is that binary number, and then we'll have x plus equals 1. So small minor mistake I just saw over here, but regardless, both those example cases did end up working even without it, but I assume that other test cases are going to be used. Okay, so that will generate this list over here. Hopefully that makes sense. But now we're going to jump into part 2, in which we're going to take a look at using this list to add up to our number, which in this case we have 32 and 1043. So what I looked at this first is if the maximum of this list is less than equal to num, what we're going to say is number equals num minus the max, right? So in the example was 1043, we take 1043 minus 1011, right? Now what we do is we append to our number list, right? We've used 1011, so that's going to get added into our addition list. And then also we're counting plus equal 1 because we did subtract away from our specific number. We're adding in the count. Now, you could technically just find the length of this addition list over here, but I also wanted to throw this counts in here. Originally, I didn't know this aspect where you had to build out this list, and I just used a count. So, right, I just added in essentially 2 other lines with this addition list and this list right there. When initially I did count, but there was a slight modification in the question, so I added that in over here. Okay, now the number list, right? So elif, right? And we're using if-elif-else, and I have a video on this, so if you want to check it out, make sure to check it out. But so if the maximum on the list is 0, that means we've gone through all these numbers, right? So 10, 11, 10, 10, 1000, 1, 1, 1, right? 0 is our first number that was given with these examples, and I want to break this while loop, right? If that happens, our number would be no longer valid, but also over here it would be no longer valid as well, but I just threw this in over here. And lastly, right, if it doesn't fit this condition where the max number list is greater than equal to num, right, we're going to remove whatever the max number is from the list. So let's say, for example, right, we moved 1011 already from this 1043, right? Well, 1010 is way larger. It's not going to fit this criteria. It's not going to fit this criteria. So let's remove it from the list. Right, at this point, 1011 is already removed. Then it goes 1001. Well, that doesn't fit the criteria. Remove, remove, remove. And then it will keep going down until 11. And 11 fits the criteria twice, right? So I'll go through this if statement first time. Okay, comes back over here. Oh, well, we can still subtract 11. Goes through here. And then we can't subtract 11 because we have 10 now. So it removes 11 and then comes back here and 10. And lastly, I just printed out our addition list as well as our count. And this solved it for both of these use cases. Look, I didn't test it out on a bunch of other use cases. Maybe I should have before this video, but I took time out of my day to solve this question. So if you guys do want to ask more questions, whether it's like this or on machine learning or AI, make sure to join our Discord server, trying to get it as active as possible. And the link is going to be down below in the description. Hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you do have a better solution for this, let me know. This is just something I built on the fly, and I saw it was kind of fun to do. So that's why I did this. And I know there's probably a way more efficient way to do it than this. This x less than num is definitely not the best way to approach this problem, but it gets the correct answer on both of these. All right, see you guys in another video.